Good morning, good morning, good morning, and welcome to Bears Brunch, season ending, the recap show. It's a sad day. There's football being played, and the Bears are nowhere to be seen with it.
No, but they kind of even weren't in their playoff game either. So, you got to allow them that at least.
They didn't show up to that one either. I'm Chase Almy, Lebanese Lemmy on the Instagrams. Cristina Gonzalez, the tattooed farmed.
Farm D really is how it's pronounced, but how you want to say it.
You were getting farmed. I thought that might be some new cool slogan the kids are out there using.
It could be. I don't know. I'm not that hip on the current lingo,
Right. Then you're not getting turned anymore. It's all about the
it's all about getting to bed by 9 or 10, waking up early, getting the caffeine in to do my Monday through Friday job.
Are you getting electrocuted right now?
No, I wish. No, actually, my back has been significantly better, knock on wood, recently. So
that's good.
Yeah.
My 32-year-old ass is now on like 6 over-the-counter medications to try to figure out if I just have acid reflux or if I have a tear in my chest.
Well, technically, it'd be a tear like in your esophagus, not your chest.
Well, like the cartilage, they think that I've torn cartilage.
You torn cartilage in your chest. Oh,
yeah. It's
I was thinking you're talking about like you had maybe an ulcer or something.
See, that's what I think I have, but they said they think I have costochondritis.
Costochondritis, yeah.
So we're just waiting it out
in the chest space there.
Yeah. Oh, it's sad when you go to eat and your girlfriend has to ask if you've taken your pill.
Yeah.
You're trying to be cool and
I've learned in, the latter half of my 20s, almost 30, about 1 month away from that, when you get older, your body feels all the sports catching up to you. You're not as young as you used to be. You can't do the same shit. Yep. And you take a lot more fucking pills. I take ibuprofen like it's Skittles.
Yeah.
I take Tylenol regularly. I do actually take vitamins now.
Look out.
I know.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well,
a lot of old stuff.
I mean, it's a sad day. I'll tell you, Father Time has caught up with a lot of us.
Yeah, unfortunately. I saw a meme. It was like 91 and 90s kids. It was like a SpongeBob meme, like SpongeBob being chased by that like crazy chocolate guy.
You're right.
Like 30 catching up to 90 and 91 kids. I'm like, yep, that's me.
Yeah, I can't do it anymore. But yeah, the Bears, they're out.
They are.
Now we're going to eat ourselves in sad and shame. I watched the Nickelodeon feed the entire time. My kid enjoyed it. I was really upset that we got no slime. They slimed the end zone with like this computer-generated slime.
Okay.
Did kick a few field goals through SpongeBob, though, so that was a plus.
Yeah.
So the final score of the game, 21-9. Sad. She did get the pick on the 21. It was just going the wrong way. It wasn't a high-scoring game for anybody, really.
It was not, no. Only high-scoring playoff game was really that Browns-Steelers game. And that was interesting.
Yes.
I watched probably the first half of that and then fell asleep, and they were up, 35-0 or nearly 35-7 at half?
Yeah. I started watching it and it was like 21-0.
Mm-hmm.
And I finally looked at it. My girlfriend was just like, all right, we can watch something that you want to watch.
Yeah.
So I figured there was nothing. And they did Pittsburgh kind of made a push to try to come back, but it was too little too late.
Yeah.
Which we'll talk about.
The first play of the game was a touchdown for Cleveland.
Yes.
Off a poor snap. So.
Yes. So now that the dust has settled and the Mondays are through, we now know that we will be looking for defensive coordinator with Pagano retiring. Chuck Pagano is now just Gano and is going to go and enjoy his latter years of life sitting at home wherever he chooses to make that. So that is really the only vacancy that's open right now. Unfortunately, ownership has decided to bring back this dynamic duo next year with the Matt Nagy and Ryan Pace situation. Unfortunately, we made it to the playoffs to lose 21-9 and gain absolutely nothing out of that because, unfortunately, they're coming back.
Yeah.
So with no quarterback plan, really.
Yeah, it was maybe mid-season or about 6 games left. We were thinking for sure, they're just gonna let Trubisky go on, find his own way after the season's done. But then, when they swapped him out or swapped out Foles for Trubisky, and he had a handful of decent games for himself. So now it's kind of okay, do we keep him and try to get rid of Foles, or do we look for anyone with our upcoming draft pick?
Right. And the thing was, he had, after his second coming into the season, after coming back from that injury and Foles going down, he lost 2 games and then he won out. And then I think he lost 4 games out of that last little run. Yeah. Really, the only loss that looked bad was last Sunday.
Yeah. And, we were talking about before, is just after that dropped, that drop pass in the end zone, that was a for sure touchdown. It was an on the money pass right into, the receiver's hands, and it just slipped right through.
Yeah. I mean, it was just literally like, it just boom.
I mean, all he literally had to do was move his hands in a little bit closer to cradle that one in. And it, I think that just changed the whole entire momentum of the game. It was like, once that happened, they were like, oh, well, fuck this. We're done. We'll score. Because that was a for sure thing.
Yeah, it was a great design play. It was like a jet sweep reverse with a flea flicker type situation. And just hit him in stride. He had at least a step or 2 on the
the defender even fell down trying to get anything on him. He fell right at his heels. And so, I mean, he had no barrier to catching that fucking ball.
Yeah.
Except his own ability. So
right. It was as soon as that happened, I was like, oh no. Oh no.
I'd say that, and then that 4th and 3 where they jumped off sides and just gave the Saints the first down.
Yeah.
Were really the 2 momentum changing plays of the game.
Right. Yes, that was I think those 2, like you were saying, were very, very big on the momentum change. We the season, we knew it was going to come to an end. I was optimistic that they could turn things around, beat them the second time they saw them this year, and that did not happen. So that leaves a lot of questions, like we were saying, in the offseason. What's going to happen? Nagy and Pace are going to be there. Are they going to be on a short leash? Is it just to finish out Nagy's contract? There's no buyout. There's really no, is there no expectation? I mean, what happens? I know I've been reading a lot where there is actually a lot of big push for a trade for Deshaun Watson.
Yeah. Well, and I don't think that's a bad idea. I think that the Dak for Mac, I think that was a horrible idea. I haven't heard much over the last 3 to 4 weeks about that as kind of a headline, but why? I mean, if you're not looking to draft a new quarterback, you might as well get an established one who has some versatility. And obviously, Deshaun Watson's a far more mobile quarterback than Trubisky and is a larger threat with his feet and arm. So I don't think that's a bad idea. But then who do you trade for? Are you trading picks, money, players, combination of the 3? I don't know.
And do you release Foles, sign Trubisky back on like a prove yourself kind of deal, put him maybe in a backup quarterback or a dual kind of quarterback situation with Deshaun Watson and kind of run how Taysom Hill lights out.
He is, and but he honestly, I think he offers New Orleans more of that kind of wildcat look that they feel more in college than a Trubisky Watson package would. But I think it would be unique if they had that combination of we've got Watson, who's a dual threat, we have Trubisky, who's a dual threat, but they offer kind of different skill sets. Not quite the wildcat look, but still kind of something a little bit more unique for the Bears offensively.
Right. Because the Bears are old school, for a long time they were ground and pound. Nagy came in, tried to bring in some new life into how football is going to be played in Chicago. And I think really Bill Lazor was the guy that saved the job for Nagy. And I that's what I'm curious. Is Nagy going to take back play calling next season? Or are we going to leave Bill Lazor in for OC play calling situation?
I think it'd be a horrible mistake for Nagy to think he should take back over offensive play calls.
Right. I think Nagy
needs more of an ego thing than anything.
Yeah. And I think where Nagy's ego needs to be is, you know what I did? I realized that this wasn't the spot for me, and I put myself in a better position.
Yeah. I think there has to be that little bit of humility there to be able to say, you know what? We did do better offensively when I allowed Lazor to take over offensive play calling. So you know what? Let's move forward next season with that. If I need to take it back over, then I can. But relinquish some of that control.
Right.
It worked in the latter half of the season.
Yes. I right now, and I think the other question is where's the Fitzgerald situation in the coaching tree? Big signings have already happened this past week. The biggest, Urban Meyer, going to the Jaguars for a fairly large sum of money.
You would have to. I don't see anyone who has kind of a coaching history or prestige as Urban Meyer going to someplace like Jacksonville without a large monetary incentive. But, also he's going to have a whole new look offense with, them anticipating drafting Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah.
He's not going to have, what was I can't even remember the Jags quarterback they had this year. Started with the G or something last name. Kind of just a little nobody.
Right.
Quarterback. And, so now you're bringing in a proven college kid, but how does he also fare by NFL standards?
Right. But here's my thing is, if you were going into the draft, would you even want to be the first draft pick?
No. Look at, Joe Burrow last year was the first draft pick. Is it great for your ego? Is it great for money and contract incentive? Absolutely. But is it great as far as a career path? No. I think you're getting the shittiest team to play for from the previous season, and you also have that pressure too of, okay, now you're the first pick. You're going to turn this team around.
Right.
So not only is it the weight of your shoulders, you know what? I'm trying to make a career in the NFL, but now I have all this external pressure of you're the first draft pick. You better turn it around in about 2 to 3 seasons.
Right.
And if not, you're just going to get traded around a bunch.
Right. Well, and people look at things like, Troy Aikman was a first round draft pick for the Cowboys.
Yep.
But nobody wants to look at the fact that the Cowboys also began to build around that talent.
Yeah. But look at the receiving core he had too. Look at the defense he had too in the 90s, in the mid 90s or so.
And that was the thing, was he was drafted 89?
Yeah.
And they didn't get their first ring with him till 92. That was a 4-year build.
Right. It's time. And I think, nowadays it's basically, if you don't turn a 1 or 2 win team into a winning team within 2 seasons, that's when they're like, you know what, we're going to pull the plug. That's not quick enough.
Yep. It's like instant.
Yeah, and that's kind of this whole generational thing of wanting that instant gratification.
Right.
Well, we're paying you this amount of money. We better see some fucking results. But, a lot of these poor teams that are getting the top draft picks, they're making more, honestly, I feel like flashy draft choices than anything, than smarts, like secure draft picks. Yeah, the Jaguars do need a quarterback, but what are your next picks going to be? Probably you need some offensive linemen. Yeah, that's not a sexy draft pick, but you know what? You're going to need someone to protect Trevor Lawrence's ass. So,
well, and with the Bears situation where they're wanting to, draft somebody, they need to draft an O lineman.
Yes,
they need to. But if they're going to go for Deshaun Watson, I don't think that draft pick's going to be there. No. I don't think that they're going to have that draft pick.
Not the one you want, at least. I mean, yeah you can still get a decent O lineman, third, fourth round pick, but you're going to have to sacrifice a few top picks to trade for Deshaun Watson.
Right. It's going to be an interesting offseason, I think, for sure, especially with player personnel in Chicago. Speaking of player personnel, there was a little bit of news that came out this past week where the Bears defensive end Mario Edwards Jr. has been suspended without pay for the first 2 games of the 2021 regular season for violating the NFL's policy for performance-enhancing substances. So, couldn't even pull us a win, and now you're out for performance-enhancing drugs. Bang-up job, Mario Edwards Jr.
Kind of just really is a really good summary of the Bears season, though. Kind of that story right there.
And also the Bears 2021 schedule is already out. I don't know if you looked at that or not. Looks like their first opponent will be the Detroit Lions.
Well, hopefully it fares better than the last Detroit Lions matchup.
Yes. They've got Green Bay in they'll have Green Bay twice. They've got Lions, Packers, Vikings, Cardinals, Niners, Ravens, Bengals, Giants, Browns, the Rams, Steelers, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
All right.
So that is the schedule going forward. Next season, hopefully there's fans in the stands. Hopefully we make it out for a game if there are fans in the stands.
That is to be determined with all this COVID stuff, hopefully.
Yes. I was looking at booking a trip out in March to Phoenix for some
spring training stuff.
Yeah, but apparently Arizona is the most dangerous place in the world right now for COVID.
Oh, shit. Yeah. Well, Oklahoma was pretty up there, but we're doing pretty well on our vaccines. So,
did you get yours?
Not yet. We're waiting on ours to come in for our facility. Then I will be getting mine. All my other family members have received pretty much both doses at this point. So I'm one of the last ones.
Well, I live up north of Tulsa. And a guy I work with, he drove all the way to Poto.
Yeah. I mean, they're, the local health departments have been opening up bookings, but they're like gone.
Right. Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy how things are happening. Yeah. So there's no football for us today. There was no football for us this weekend. It's a tragic day. We do though have some Death Inc. coffee.
Ooh.
DeathInc.coffee. They will give you all of your coffee fixes, and get the subscription. That's the best route to go. We've also got our buddies over at Monkey Knife Fight that we want to thank for the season. Monkey Knife Fight is still going, and you can still use our code even though the Bears are out. But the Monkey Knife Fight is the daily fantasy sports gaming website for the casual sports fan that is simple, fun, and easy to play. Users determine which superstars competing in the day's professional sporting events will record more or less than the contest line provided. Monkey Knife Fight's daily fantasy prop games play similar to the salary cap-based DSF games, but without the algorithms, lineups, and most importantly, sharks. There are several contests to choose from, none of which require hours of research required on competing sites. Start with a simple 2-2 or go to the highest payouts, 100 max and higher by selecting an 8-8 more or less contest. Get started now with 100% instant match bonus up to $50 with our promo code Bears Brunch. Also, they play hockey. which here about 30 minutes after this show, you can watch our new show, Hawks Talks, for the first episode, which will have Cristina and I talking all things Chicago Blackhawks, which is kind of like talking Bears right now. There's not a lot of good things to talk about.
Yeah.
It's a rough day. We're both in our Blackhawks. We're probably going to chug down some more coffee and then get back on the shows with you guys. So where I know the O-line, that's going to have to get shaped up.
Yes.
Where do you see the biggest need to fill this offseason?
I honestly think they need to invest in another running back too. I mean, Montgomery had a few pretty good games the latter half of the season, very beginning few games, but I think they need another solid running back too. I mean, if you cannot establish the run game, you're really limiting your offensive play calling.
Yes.
And Montgomery was just non-existent versus New Orleans. So
yeah, no, he didn't show up either. And I think maybe some of that had to still do with that injury from the game prior in the Packers. Montgomery looked better with Mitch at the helm.
Yeah, I agree.
You know, I think that with Trubisky, defenses had to set up differently. When everybody's just going to try to get to an immobile quarterback, that doesn't give you a lot of holes to find.
No, I mean, I think definitely when you have someone like Foles, who you know is just a pocket passer or they're going to run it, you stack the box. Yep. That's what I would do defensively. Defensively is stack, the line. So you're preventing, the run game, but you're also putting that extra pressure on an immobile quarterback he's not going to beat you with his feet. He's just not.
No.
And he's not really at risk for taking off either, because you're going to get some coverage sacks with him. He will spend all the time he can looking for an open receiver before he took off. So,
right. It was I think that was one of the things that kind of made Montgomery look a little bit better than what he was, really. I think, he's a good running back. And if you look at his yards, the games that he had great games, he was averaging, 7-8 yards a run. That was, that's decent. Running backs, people don't like the running back situation. They don't like paying running backs. I get it. It's a passing league or a running quarterback league now. But they give you that opportunity. They give you another option to look at things in that RPO situation. Mm-hmm. Montgomery did well when it was Trubisky, and I think every player really kind of did better with Trubisky.
Yeah,
Trubisky opened up the field a lot more to get more looks at other players that weren't really getting targets at the time.
I agree. I mean, he just provided, I think, a lot more options for his teammates, and I think it definitely showed that they had a lot more trust and faith in him than with Foles, at the helm. So
right. Yeah, it was like I said, this offseason is going to be really, really strange, especially now that we're not on the hunt for a new GM and a new head coach.
Right.
Putting the faith in it. And that's one of those things where now they've got a lot to prove, because it's been screaming, I'm surprised that there wasn't some pitchforks and torches going down the old street, headed straight up to the.
I am too.
Yeah. Hallis Hall.
I would say this next season, if it's not what they anticipate, I don't see any way around getting rid of Nagy, Pace, and so.
Well, Pace is out. He signed through 2021, just like Nagy's contract as well. So they'd both be out at the end of next season. They could sign an extension through 2022. I don't think that's going to happen. I think you just
go, honestly, unless they take them to a Super Bowl and win it.
Right.
Let them go.
Yeah. And tragically, Chicago ownership is going to be okay with even a playoff win.
Yes, they would be.
And that's a huge, huge problem.
I agree.
So,
when you set the bar so low, I mean, what do you expect?
Right. And that's a culture change, and they need a culture change, and they're not going to get that with Ryan Pace and Matt Nagy, and you can't fault them. This is the way that they run an organization. This is the way that they coach. It doesn't work in Chicago.
No, it doesn't.
Nagy, it worked, his style and things like that worked within that Chiefs deal. But, when you've got a major head coach that's there, that you're fitting into that culture, and you tried to bring that culture in. And I've noticed that with people who are position coaches or coordinators, they get underneath this guy and they learn the way that he coaches, and it works for that guy. And yes, you can adopt some of the things, like there's things that are just, core leadership values that you can instill in somebody and use. But if it doesn't feel genuine, there's a lot of people that aren't going to catch on to it.
Exactly.
And so, I couldn't go and learn head coaching from Sean McVay and then take it to another team that's not built around that and try to say, okay, I got the guys that I've got, Sean McVay, that's who you're getting, just with my face on it, and we're going to run it, and it's going to work fine. Very few places does it work.
Yeah, I mean, not only as a coach, but as a player, you have to adapt for the system that you're put in.
Right.
And that goes for all personnel, honestly. You can't just use what you were successful with at a different organization and expect it to work at the new one.
And I think too, now you've got these, people are noticing and they caught on to that trend that what's happening in college is now happening in the NFL. Where now things are different, yes. But it's not so much different that you don't see players who were outstanding in college get to the NFL and just be complete flukes. Yeah. You do have that, but you have a little less of that happening because these coaches have adapted and they've learned, hey, we've got to do what's best for our players. And I think that's really what it is you're managing egos and you're learning how to do things. And I think that's where Nagy needs to focus, is being more of a hands-off in the coaching realm, but be more in management, game management, even practice management, managing a culture that Ryan Pace has kind of handed him. And all right, now you go do the Matt Nagy deal and get us a win. And I think towards the end of the season, when Bill Lazor took over, we kind of saw that Nagy has the ability to do that. Does he have the personnel to be able to take all of that he does and translate that into wins?
Exactly. Yeah. And, I think the NFL game had to adapt to what college was doing and the sort of players that the college game was producing for them, because, the biggest college stars, again, were these dual quarterback guys.
Right.
And, some of the ones that fluked out, it was because it was a time where they entered the NFL where these coaches were just dead set on making these dual threat quarterbacks pocket passers. And, you have to go through every single read before you're able to take off or, let your natural ability take over and let your feet, take you where you need to go. But and that wasn't their game. That's not what made them successful in college. And so they were having to try to change completely what made them successful. And it just didn't work out for them, unfortunately.
Right. Coming up to this week, that Browns Chiefs game, all that's been on, like if there's no news or anything on, I think Fox Sports Southwest or Fox Sports Oklahoma has shown that Texas Tech OU game, Mahomes and Mayfield.
Yes.
And now you see that style of play. What was it, like 64-56 or something like that?
It was like over 100 somewhat, 120 points scored that game.
Yeah. They've been
battle, a shootout.
Right. And you look at that now where you have that same kind of style of play. I really think that it's not really a step up in the offense in NFL. I think it's defense.
Yeah.
Because you guys have these guys still playing lights out, but you're not getting that 64-58 score. You're getting a, 42 is kind of a really high scoring game. Yeah. And you don't see that score coming up next, being like a 35.
Right.
She's like 42-19 or some weird off the wall score. You don't get very many of those games where, what was it? The so the Chiefs and Rams a few seasons ago that had one of those like track meet games where you just bam, 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 just going back and forth. But it's nice when that happens. And I think we're going to see a lot more of that if we can get players like Deshaun Watson on teams that matter.
Right.
Not on the Texans. And that's the problem. Are these guys get these glory years stolen from them where they're in their prime and they're coming up and they're, they're mobile and they're healthy and things like that, but they're having to rebuild a team because that's what they've picked them as the building block.
Exactly.
It's like I feel like every first round draft pick in the NFL tends to be a Mike Trout situation in baseball where Mike Trout plays for the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. And he's never going to win a World Series. He's going to make almost $1 billion, but he'll never have a championship because they've stolen his glory years.
Right.
It's ridiculous. Well, guys, this has been a fun season. We're still going to be doing this every Sunday at 11. May just be me sometimes, maybe both of us. Who knows? But in 30 minutes, back here, right here at this, we will have Hawks Talks premiering, and that is also brought to us by Monkey Knife Fight, Death Ink Coffee, and Papa John's Pizza. So we will keep you guys up to date on news, what's going on. We'll probably bring this next week a little nice Bears mock draft. I think that could be fun.
Ooh.
Explore some of the Deshaun Watson news as it continues to unfold. But until then, guys, remember, stay warm, bear down, and pray for a better tomorrow.
Drink responsibly. I don't know.
Please drink responsibly.
If
you have a gambling problem, 1-800-QUIT.
Gamble responsibly. Just be responsible.
Just be responsible adults. Bear down. We'll see you guys next time.